What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Breaking Bitcoin Market Update. Of course, I'm your host, Justin Wise, lead analyst and senior mentor at Kraken Cryptocurrency. Hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic wherever you happen to be tuning in from. Big shout out to all the viewers on YouTube and Twitch right now. Very excited to do the show with you guys. And obviously, an exciting night. Last night, we were up until, I want to say, past 2 o'clock in the morning, my time, in the members lounge in the VIP voice chat, just talking everything out. I mean, it was popping in there. We had just about all the guys in there. It was a fantastic time. I want to give a big shout out to Zero. Some really awesome information that he was sharing in there, dropping knowledge as always. Shout out to all the great guys in there. We were chatting, basically, just listening to me rant sometimes, but sometimes that just is the case. We got a lot of exciting stuff to talk about today, guys. We're going to talk about the court order issued towards Craig Wright. We're going to talk about a little bit deeper. We're going to talk about Reginald Fowler, right? And I don't want to get into this. We're not going to go into this super deep today because I like to talk about things that I feel very authoritative on or that I feel I have a firm grasp on. So we're just going to point the threads and start digging a little deeper into this entire Bitfinex FUD conspiracy theory because that was one of the main focus topics that we were focusing on last night in the members lounge. Anthony Liang 25 starting us out strong with a $2 super chat, man. Thank you so much for the donation, my good friend. Says Litecoin looks like it wants to go to zero. You know, we took an LTC M19 scalp the other day to the upside, had a 3% profit opportunity. I ended up taking about 1.25% profit on that trade. And not actively in the position at this point in time. So we'll take a look at the chart, man. Super channel, awesome time. Thank you so much for the subscription on YouTube. Alex Sayin, Tony Walker, thank you guys so much. Highly appreciated. We're going to talk about Esmalal's Wada Atar explosion indicator today. We're going to talk about Reginald Fowler. We're going to talk about some connections, some arrests and indictments made. We're going to talk about this week what's going to be coming out against Bitfinex as far as court orders and what the New York Attorney General's office is going to do. I'd love to hear your guys' comments on that because that is the critical issue of our time. This is what everybody's eyes is focused on. People are wondering. And again, we're going to get into this here in just a little bit. What is causing this rapid price appreciation of Bitcoin? Is this, again, people say it's organic, it's not organic. At the end of the day, you have somebody or individuals buying more Bitcoin than are selling Bitcoin. That is how price goes up. However, is there strong merit to the idea that Bitfinex is pumping the price of Bitcoin on their exchange, that they're preparing for a legal battle, that they're preparing to exit scam? Again, I've talked to people that I highly respect and they think not. I've talked to people that I highly respect and they think so. I tend to fall into the later camp. I think that we are on the verge of something like Mt. Gox 2.0. And again, I never want to cause a lot of panic or fear or FUD or anything like that. But again, I can only speak from my opinion and my recommendation. If you have funds on Bitfinex, if you have Tether on Bitfinex, I implore you to withdraw your funds from Bitfinex. The reason why is because if everything blows over and you're absolutely fine, you can put your money back on Bitfinex and trade. If, however, everything is not fine, you don't want to be left holding the bag, right? You want to be proactive in a situation like this because you don't want to wake up in the morning and be receiving news of something that is going to affect your livelihood from a news outlet. You want to be proactive. You want to be looking like, man, thank God I got out while I could, and not, man, I wish I would have gotten out when I could. Always the route you want to take. And just as in trading, just as in all things, it's better to be safe than sorry. So we got a lot of interesting things. We're going to talk about the price of Bitcoin. Bitcoin hit 6,000 on Binance. Now, doesn't excite me that much, but it's still super exciting. Bitcoin didn't hit the price of 6,000 on any USD exchange, did hit the price of 6,000 on the USDT exchange, right? And again, this kind of fits back into that. Individuals are desperately trying to dive out of Tether. Individuals are very uncertain about Tether. What is the future of Tether? And we're going to talk about that a little bit with the New York Attorney General's office and what they potentially might issue this week and my ruminations on that as well. And we're going to talk about the price as we always do. And we got 100 likes on yesterday's video, guys. So we are going to do the death of Sally live on the air, guys. So, or we'll show you the video, right? We'll show the end video of the creation of Lucy and the exiting of my old trading chair, Sally. Just a little fun. I know for the followers of the channel, they were asking about that. So we will do that live on the air. And we'll answer your questions and look at your requests. There we go. Boom. And here we are. We're live in the scene. Pardon me, guys, while I take a sip of my afternoon coffee. Okay. Let's scroll up in the chat here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. We got Bob the Builder. What's going on, my good friend? Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion. My dear Lord, we are joined by some true OGs. He says, I have a lot of TUSD and I have failed with my recent trades so badly, I lost half of my Bitcoin holdings. First off, don't feel bad. It's a learning process with everyone. Trading is not an easy occupation. It's very difficult to control your emotions. And again, that's why we do this channel. Do I think we're about to break the $6,000 range soon? Hours, days? Cheers. Cheers to you, my good friend. Thank you so much for joining us. So overall, my opinion right now in the Bitcoin market is that I am looking at higher levels to initiate my shorts from. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. Now, do I have my limit orders in actively right now? No, I do not. I'm actually flat on Bitcoin. I don't actually have an active position, except for a very, I opened up a small position on my secondary account. The reason why is because I'm always testing new strategies out, right? So for my primary strategy, for my trend following strategy, or even for my secondary reversal strategy or raw reversals within the trend or even raw reversals, did not get an indication to go long on Bitcoin. In fact, all my indications are telling me that right now is the time to remain neutral. The reason why is because we are right at resistance. It does, I'll be honest, from a fundamental perspective and from an overall chart perspective, it does look like Bitcoin's price does want to push higher. Is this the most attractive area to look for a long? Absolutely not. Because when I get into a position, I want to have well-defined risk levels. And entering right now does not offer me an opportunity to take well-defined risk levels. So I'm flat in my positions. I'm equal long and short. Again, that's how I manage things. So I'm waiting for Bitcoin to consolidate a little bit, let the market settle and pick a strong direction before I enter into my new trend. But my bias is to the downside. All right. But I'm not eager to short price from this level right now. All right. We took the trade on Ethereum to the upside. We took the trade on Bitcoin to the upside. Actually, the last profitable trade that we took as the group was the trade from $5,700 down to the $5,500 level. The lower $5,600 level. So that was a good trade. As you can see, I've updated the boom right here. Oh, I'm dying. I need to stretch that down just a little bit. But anyways, you guys can see the P&L of the group for the month of April. We did pull in 141.33% in P&L, so it was another good month. Not as good as March. March was a much overall better month for us, but still in the green quite significantly. Zero Cool 721. Thank you so much for the tier 3 subscription, my good man. Dropping all that knowledge on us in the chat last night and now throwing up the 3-month sub. Thank you so much, man. I got to hit you with some Twitch emojis. I throw those hands up. All right. Highly appreciate it, man. Always appreciate your time, your wisdom, and your experience. Let me... Sorry, just 1 second. Okay. I see what the issue is. There we go. There we go. Just a little cleaner. So, TLDR, I think you're fine sitting where you're at, Protocols. Flipper, hello from the UK, hoping for a massive rejection off 6K to help recover from a bad trading week. Again, I think that the next big trade is to the downside. I don't think that the next big trade is to the upside. And when I say that, that doesn't mean that Bitcoin can't, and I fully expect Bitcoin to put in a volatile movement to the upside. But I think that the next big sustained trade is to the downside. Either things are way more bullish for Bitcoin than people realize, or this is just another massive manipulation of the entire crypto market before the bear market continues. Again, Pam Darian, good to see you. Ricky Thompson. Andrew Adams, Johnny Valentine. So does Game of Thrones have a contract with Starbucks? Cruise CIT, good to see you, my good man. Esmalal. Zerp Moon says, Zerp up nicely. Andrew Adams, thank you so much, my good friend. Oh, wait, wrong chart. You were looking at the Zerp Moon. You were looking at the Zerp chart on the inverted setting. Goth MGTOW, good to see you, my good man. Brad Garlinghouse must have spent a little too much fiat, needs to cash out some tokens. All right, let me scroll all the way down here to the bottom. John putting in a chain link request. Sure, man. Let's update the schedule, and we will look at Link. I was looking at Link last night. In fact, for those of you who were in the VIP chat last night, I was talking about Link. I was like, hey, this looks like a pretty good trade, but yeah, I'm not so sure about it. And then 30 minutes later, I looked back at the chart, and it had pumped 5%. So just one of those things. Link BTC. All right. What's up, XRP? All right, you guys are funny. Now, no HODL strategy. No, but I will say that I am, I will say that I am still sitting in Bitcoin. Again, I won't sell out of my Bitcoin into something like stablecoin or USD. And again, when I say that, I also mean that, so worst case scenario, I hedge up, I go 1x short, right? But something very important needs to happen for that to happen. I need to see price on the daily time frame go bearish. And what is that first indication for me? Well, if I happen to get a signal from my longer term indicators, or if price closes below the daily baseline. Hasn't done that yet. So there's no reason for me to jump the gun. Now, as far as looking for a profitable trade, a profitable short trade, that's different, right? Now, the funds that I keep on Binance are sitting in Bitcoin, have been sitting in Bitcoin since 4,000. And I see no reason to change that at this point in time. So while I am flat, because I'm holding the underlying asset, my USD value continues to go up because of my holdings. Okay, so before we get into price, I want to go over a few things that I think are interesting. So the first thing that I want to look over is, let's talk about this. So I've been mentioning that I'm working, and again, shout out to that individual. I don't want to mention his name because again, I don't know if he's thought carefully about this, but I have. When individuals know, and I just know this from my experience in cryptocurrency, right? Because again, you guys have to remember, I'm a trader. I'm not a developer. I've become a developer as far as PineScript goes, but that was painstaking and difficult, right? And I did that. I learned that. I went through that arduous task of learning this language that was difficult and incomprehensible to me because I wanted to be able to provide value to individuals and to provide value to myself, to make good indicators for myself. And also provide value because again, the reason I made the Ichimoku indicators because I traded Ichimoku and I would like features in my indicator that I don't see other people code in. So I made my own. So I'm working with a very intelligent individual who is very skilled at programming. And again, the reason I don't want to point him out is because should that become common knowledge, he would be inundated with requests, just like I am inundated with requests for, look at this chart, look at this strategy. And I try to do the best that I can. I try to respond to comments the best that I can because I'm very humbled and very pleased when everybody hits me up. But sometimes it's not easy being in the limelight. And I've worked with people who are just really good at PineScript. I've had people in the community who are really good with Pine, and people learn that they're very, very skilled with Pine, and then they get just spammed with, hey, can you make this indicator? Can you make this indicator? Can you make this indicator? And sometimes, especially, depending on what kind of person you are, it can make you kind of bitter, and then you don't want to do anything for anybody. So anyways, but I'm working with a very talented programmer on analyzing shorter term data on BitMEX. So this is a little taste of what we have so far. And this is a heat map of the order book. So this is very similar, but better and much more detailed than what Sensor Charts offers. So eventually what this is going to be able to do is be updated live. This is going to be a live update that we're going to have. And I'm really excited about the information because in addition to that, we're also looking at statistical analysis of when we see certain patterns and then running that through machine learning to be able to learn and get more efficient and get better as we move along. So pretty excited about this. There's not a lot to comment upon, but what we can say here, for example, is I'm interested in this divergence between the highest bid and the highest ask, right? I also want to point out, Bennett made a really good video the other day where he was talking about skewed data, right? And he was talking about the liquidity for 1,000 Bitcoins. And I thought that was a very interesting metric. So what I would like to create, what I actually suggested this morning was that we make an algorithm that can predict when, so for those of you who don't understand what I'm talking about, and for those of you who haven't seen this video, what we're talking about is skew, all right? So this is skew liquidity, SQ3W, and this is a BitMEX derivatives website. And what this will allow us to do, this allows us, this has some fantastic information. But mainly what I've been focusing on, and this is mainly because Bennett pointed this out to me, is this BitMEX XBT USD tiered price of 1,000 Bitcoins of liquidity. So what this means is, if you wanted to buy or sell $1,000, or excuse me, 1,000 Bitcoin, how far in the order book would you have to travel for that order to be filled, for the liquidity? Where is the liquidity? Where is the liquidity for 1,000 Bitcoins worth in volume? And so as we can see here, the red line is representing how far up the ask side of the order book you would have to travel to have your buy order filled, or excuse me, to have your sell order filled, and how far down the order book you would have to travel to get your buy orders filled, right? So if somebody wanted to sell 1,000 Bitcoins, they would have to travel down as far as the blue line is away from the zero line, right? So in this example, we can see that at this point in time, the blue line, which is the XBTUSD bid, is negative 0.05%. So if you wanted to sell 1,000 Bitcoins, there is enough liquidity at 0.05% down the order book for you to get that order filled. Now that's pretty bullish, right? If we compare that, and so we can look over here at an area where there was a lot of aggressive bidding and less aggressive selling, right? So let's look at, let me actually refresh the page and zoom out just a little bit. So when we see an area, let's actually zoom this in a little bit. So when we see an area where we have very aggressive bidding, for example, where the distance that price would have to travel down to get filled, when that is quite small, so when that is closer to the zero line, that is indicating a very bullish market, especially when we see that offers are very weak and pushed away from the zero line, indicating that price would have to travel fairly far for 1,000 Bitcoin sell order to get filled or to be executed. So basically what we're looking for is, so here's a good example right here. So at this point in time, let's zoom in on this just a little bit more. All right. So we can see right here that the ask side is, and I've kind of noticed the important numbers, right? So really you really get juicy at around, 0.05, and you want the opposite side to be greater than 0.15. Right. So in this example, we can see that the offers, that the value there is 0.07, right? Which means that, make sure I explain this correctly, right? Because it's kind of like flip reverse, right? So that's showing aggressive selling, because if an individual wanted to execute 1,000 Bitcoin sell order, price would only have to move 0.07% in the order book. Glue some foam to the bottom of that mug. Sorry about that. Let me set it down a little bit more gently. Right. Yeah, Zero Cool. You make up a good point. Yeah, this isn't, so somebody's probably not going to execute. Well, but again, so this isn't, we're not talking about a spot exchange in the first place. If you're on BitMEX, you're not buying the underlying, right? You're trading a futures platform. So we will see that kind of volume transacted, right? So again, we will see $10 million, $5 million of volume transacted, because you can use leverage. So you can put that position on with 500,000, $1 million, at 5x leverage, you could put on a $5 million position with $1 million. In general, that's very rare that we're actually seeing that kind of responsible leveraging happen. In general, what you're going to see is, yeah, and this is directly looking at BitMEX. So here we can see where the value for the offers is 0.07 and the value for the bids is negative 0.21. So that's a steep divergence. So that shows fairly aggressive selling, right? So this was very interesting to me. And I went back and back tested this a little bit for about an hour this morning when this really came across my radar. And so what I think would be a really interesting idea is that this thing does seem pretty accurate on a short-term time frame. So if you could write an algorithm that is monitoring this data set, which again, this is obviously just pulled from the API and a calculation, so this wouldn't be too hard to reconstruct or reverse engineer. If you could create something that would execute, so you would set parameters, obviously. And again, I think that the good parameters are, you want the side of the market that you want to be on less than 0.05 away from the zero line. And you want the side that you're trading against to be farther than 0.15 to 0.2. Right? That's the ideal numbers that I've basically figured out. So when was now? How do you filter teaser bot walls, or is it relevant? So again, I back tested this for about an hour, so it's not like this is the final word, bee's knees on this, but this did seem to have some pretty good results on lower time frames, right? Price did move in that direction. Doesn't mean that it moved in that direction sustainably, right? We're not talking about, oh, this was the absolute top and this was where you're short and you're riding this down for days. No, this is scalping. This is day trading. This is very quick intraday trade moves that bots are well programmed to. And you guys have heard me kind of talk about my opinions on automated trading and things of that nature. However, what I will say is it seems that basically what we're working on is a strategy like this in conjunction with machine learning, right? So if you have a system, if you have a neural network that can look and see, okay, how smart is this over time? How good is this strategy over time? Can I improve? Should I filter out this signal? Should I filter out this signal? Is this a good buy? What other conditions should be true and valid? For some reason, my Twitch chat is not updating. Anyways, right. So just something that can filter out your losses. Because again, the most important thing with any automated strategy is filtering out your losses. It's not really difficult to get a good entry position. Most people think it is. It's when to take profit and when to cut a loss, right? The filtering those losses out is the most important part of any strategy. And that's why we're going to be focusing so heavily on that in the course. Maybe if I just set the mug over here. Okay. All right, so this is just something interesting. I wanted to give a shout out to that. This is pretty interesting data to me. Again, you guys can obviously tell this is not necessarily my strong point. This is not necessarily where I approach the markets. But I do think this is interesting liquidity. Again, I focus on higher time frames. I focus on, statistical setups. I focus on my strategy. I focus on what I've built over time, over years. And I find that works quite well for me. I look for larger movements in the market. I look for more critical turning points. I look for trend following strategies. And then on lower time frames, I use things like volume and volatility to take scalps. So data metrics like this are pretty interesting. And I think that I've got, this is something that I would like to look into a little bit more and get a little bit more comfortable and get a little bit more familiar with. But it seems like manually trading this would be quite difficult. So this would have to be something where with a little bit of programming know-how, I think you could create a pretty powerful companion tool that at least just fires and tells you, hey, look, this is, we might be experiencing a local top. This might be a good scalp. And then the reaction time to actually profit from that trade might not be good for manual trading. But if you could, again, throw a small capital account at it, see if it's profitable over time. There's all kinds of, once you actually put rubber to the road and actually start trading capital, you'll find that there are little hitches. And most people find this out when they go down the route of automated strategies. They do some back testing in Pine, or they do some back testing on paper, and they think everything's fine, and then they get into the exchange. Most people don't account for slippage. Most people don't account for market fees, and those just end up eating you up. So there are some fantastic, profitable automated strategies out there. But you really have to put the time and energy into it. It's not that simple. Again, cookie cutter results, or cookie cutter testing is going to yield cookie cutter results. Heresy, thank you so much for the subscription on YouTube. Highly appreciate it, my good friend. So yeah, there's something, I don't know if it's because I put the slideshow on, but it seems to just be doing it on this computer, or excuse me, on this monitor, which is the monitor that that I have my charts on, that I'm actually looking at. So it seems like for some reason about every 30 minutes or so, my screen will flash, and I think that's because I set it to rotate a slideshow of backgrounds, which I like. It's just a little aesthetic thing. So, but it is kind of disconcerting sometimes because I'm like, the hackers are back. All right, stream hacked. Zero cool. It's really interesting how much BMX price drives price on spot exchanges on major wicks. All the bots are super correlated. Yeah, and that's because that's actually a very good sign, because it shows that the market is extremely efficient, right? The market is extremely efficient. All right, so we talked about that. That was interesting. And okay, so now let's go over and talk about the the Kleinman versus Wright. So this is the actual court document issued by the Southern District of Florida, United States District Court. And we can see here Ira Kleinman as a representative of the estate of David Kleinman, and W&K Info Defense Research LLC are the plaintiffs against Craig Wright, the defendant, right? And essentially, I'm just going to skip down to the bottom to the TLDR, right? Well, actually, there is one other thing that's pertinent in here. Let's see. The court has reconsidered its order granting Dr. Wright's motion to seal. Let's see here. At issue is whether it would be unduly burdensome for Dr. Wright to produce a list of his Bitcoin holdings as of December 31st, 2013. This court has held multiple discovery hearings that addressed issues relating to Dr. Wright's current and past Bitcoin holdings. Ultimately, the court ordered Dr. Wright to produce a list of his holdings as of December 31st, 2013, blah, 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 blah. Thereafter, Dr. Wright filed an unverified motion in which he identified a number of Bitcoin public addresses that he mined. Dr. Wright asserted that he does not have a complete list of the public addresses he owned on any date, including December 31st, 2013. He further asserted that in 2011, he transferred ownership of all his Bitcoin to a blind trust. Although he makes the conclusory statement that it would be unduly burdensome to produce a list of his Bitcoin holdings as of December 31st, 2013, this conclusion is not supported by facts. In essence, he does not argue undue burden, he argues impossibility. Let's see here. So in response to his motion, the plaintiffs asked Dr. Wright to produce the list of Bitcoins that he owned as of December 31st, 2013, identify all the Bitcoins he transferred to the blind trust in 2011, make him produce documents related to the blind trust, and make him identify under oath the current and past trustees of the blind trust. So the court then so it is therefore ordered, this is a court order, that Dr. Wright produce a list of the public addresses of his Bitcoin as of December 31st, 2013. They denied his motion to seal, and he shall provide by May 8th a sworn declaration identifying the name and location of this blind trust, the name and contact information for the current trustee and any past trustees, and the name and contact information of any current or past beneficiaries, and that he will produce a list by May 9th. Blah, 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 blah. Nope, that's not important necessarily. Right here. On or before May 15th, Dr. Wright shall produce all records of the blind trust, including but not limited to any records reflecting the transfer of Bitcoin into the blind trust in or about 2011. Boom. Slam dunk. Done. Thank you, Zero. I highly appreciate that, Jason. Well, the reason it flashed and showed a face was because that was the background. So, yeah. So my background right now is just a black screen with Guy Fawkes. People were going crazy. They're like, is it just me? Is Justin fucking with me? Night King in the house. Interesting. So Giancarlo got back to you about the Bitcoin transfers. That would be interesting. I would like to hear what he says about withdrawals in late 2018. Cracking that crypto. But Tam, good to see you, man. Yeah, so this is the nail in the coffin for Craig Wright as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I have listen, I don't like to put my faith on things. I'm never usually that guy that's like, this is blah, 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 right? I'm very cautious, very relaxed, very, I like to think very carefully before picking a strong position, because when I move, I like to move fairly strongly and swiftly. So I don't really like to tiptoe around things. What is interesting to me with this is that obviously Craig Wright has purported to be Satoshi Nakamoto, which has been one of the most ridiculous, it's been one of the most ridiculous, insulting, and condescending scams of our current time. And we all know that Craig Wright is not Satoshi Nakamoto. So even though I am, in general, not favorable towards, I wouldn't say that, again, I'm not, it's not that I don't hate individual actors of the government. I dislike the system in general as it exists. I don't think that we're following very closely to our original ideals of freedom and liberty that this country was founded on, and that we're revolutionary as far as Western civilization has helped change the world. But this is good. This is good. This is a slam dunk. This is a slam dunk for Craig Wright's sham and fakery and tomfoolery. And the faster and quicker that we can get bad actors and just clowns. I mean, it'd be okay if he wasn't a clown, but the dude's a clown, dude. Similarly, we also have that basic, I guess, takeover of the Bitcoin Cash blockchain. They're having the hard fork here coming up very soon, and 25% and growing of all blocks that are being mined on the BCH chain are being tagged with Satoshi Nakamoto. So it is rumored, it's my feeling too, that the more that this happens, the more it's likely that when the hard fork happens, there's going to be a 51% attack on the BCH chain. Consider me Miles Davis. Justin Weiss for president 2020? Amen. I'll take it. Okay, so this is really interesting. I'm going to drop this link in the description, and this is I'm just going to gloss over this a little bit because I haven't read all of this, and I want to read all of this. So this just kind of came across. So this is a post by Crypto Kujira on Reddit. This is about 4 days old, and he's talking about the U.S. Justice Department seizes part of missing money from the Bitfinex Tether scandal, and arrests have been made. So the original post was, excuse me. So the original post was an article laying out the details and connection points. So this is talking about Fed seizing part of Bitfinex's missing $850 million, arrests made. An HSBC account referenced in a federal indictment directly connects Bitfinex to a bank fraud case. And I believe this is the first place where maybe they mentioned Fowler in this. Let's see. No. Yep. So this is... Right. So in August 2018, the payment processor Bitfinex was using as a bank Crypto Capital told them that $850 million had on them was seized by authorities. Those governments were identified as the U.S., Portugal, and Poland. His statement came in a filing in a New York State Supreme Court case this week. He asked the court to lift a freeze imposed at the behest of the New York State Attorney General's office, Letitia James, on a $900 million credit line Bitfinex received in December from Tether. Right. So as we know right now, the New York Attorney General's office has issued a freeze saying that Bitfinex cannot withdraw funds from the Tether treasury, right? They have this loan on paper, but they're not legally allowed to take funds from Tether treasury and move to their own bank account and do things of that nature and do what they want with them, either honor withdrawals. So what I'd like to know, and again, this would be a good question for Giancarlo as well, is if I wanted to withdraw $1 million, or let's be realistic. If I wanted to withdraw $100,000 from Bitfinex right now, can I? And then I want to see proof. I want to see, I'd like to see, ideally, I'd like to see, they have no obligation to provide this information, but it would be helpful. It would be good for them. I doubt that they would. But, can they show that they are honoring withdrawals of significant capital? So, let's see here. And here we go. Yes, this is where they did mention Reginald Fowler. It was at this point that Crypto Capital appears to have started work with Chandler, Arizona businessman Fowler, with Arizona businessman Richard Fowler, in order to gain access to the bank accounts it could use to transfer U.S. dollars to and from clients. So Richard Fowler, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but people think that this is the let's see here. If the name Reginald Fowler sounds somewhat familiar to football fans, that's because there's a 60-year-old Reggie Fowler who also happens to have once been a limited partner in the NFL's Minnesota Vikings. So the plot thickens a little bit. So apparently an individual the Crypto Capital Corporation reached out to basically launder money through was a former partner in the National Football League's Minnesota Vikings. So a little bit more interesting information there. Let's continue on down here a little bit. So, It seems that Global Trade Solutions AG, who owns Crypto Capital Corporation, is being denied banking in the United States, Europe, and other international locations because of suspected AML and financial crimes. They're currently under investigation by the by the FBI. The Polish seizure, again, so we read that article a while back where apparently about $400 million worth of euro was seized by the Polish government because they thought that because this money was involved in drug trafficking and money laundering, and apparently that was the money that was associated with Bitfinex. And essentially, we talked about this when we did the Bitfinex video as well, speculating on the fact that whatever Crypto Capital Corporation is that they are tied up in money laundering and drug trafficking and potentially terrorism. Again, that's all the stuff that the U.S. government always says, but it seems that we do actually have potential evidence to support that, right? So again, I don't want to jump the gun on anything, but regardless. But we do know that the Polish government did seize a large amount of funds from a bank account that Bitfinex then came out and said, yes, potentially that is our money right there. So there's been no indication of Portugal's involvement in these seizures either. So that was the first article. Again, if you guys want to go look at this, then we have the indictment information right here. This is the indictment from the U.S. Department of Justice against this Reggie Fowler, excuse me, and some Israeli woman in connection with providing shadow banking services to cryptocurrency exchanges. So again, this is not this stuff that I'm looking at, this isn't like news articles. This isn't speculation. These are legal documents issued by the Department of Justice, by the New York Attorney General's office. This is different from like a news article that says this might be shady. No, the United States government is taking legal action against Bitfinex, right? So what we need to, and this is why I'm imploring people, like, regardless of what your opinion is, I don't want to sit here and say that I hate Bitfinex. I think they got a good platform. I think they're smart people, but they are between a rock and a hard place. So if you want to somehow, like, I don't give two craps about Bitfinex. Like, Bitcoin's going to change the world, not Bitfinex, right? If they get themselves in a hairball because of this, I don't want to go down with the ship, right? I am about protecting myself and ideally about protecting the interests of the individuals that are part of my group. And I care about everybody that watches the show as well. So I can only provide you guys with my best thoughts and opinions on the situation. So this is not FUD. This is legitimately concerning information that is coming out. And I don't want to be caught up in a legal battle between the United States government and Bitfinex, regardless of whether it's an attack on cryptocurrency. The government must fail. Yeah, you guys have fun with that when you want the value of your crypto to go up. So yes, have those opinions and do what you want to do to support the future of cryptocurrency. But when it comes to your money, be smart, right? So, talk about that a little bit more later after I've got a firm grasp on everything and feel pretty confident about what I'm saying. All right, moving on. So S. Malal, proud viewer of the show, thank you so much, sent me a DM last night, and he said that, hey, with Wadatar explosion, it's often difficult for me to tell if the explosion line is moving up or down, which was a prerequisite for entering into a buy signal based on the original author of this script. So S. Malal went out and added a neat little line of code that actually shifts the color of the explosion level should the explosion level be moving up or moving down. And I have the example over here on the chart. Here. I have added it to the chart. Now, well, shucks. I put it somewhere. Anyways, so let's just add it over here. So if we go to the indicator window here in TradingView and we type in WADA, we're going to see it right here. Wadatar explosion, S. Malal. Okay, and we can just take a gander. Let's actually minimize these two panes here. I quite like this. We can see it's actually, I think, a little bit easier to see. He's chosen a little bit of a different color palette. That's totally fine. But if we just look at that yellow line down there and the red line, it does become much easier to see. So we wanted to talk about the Wadatar explosion, and we will go over this very briefly. Essentially, when using this indicator, what this is going to be, it does triple duty, right? Because it's an entry and exit signal, so it's a momentum indicator. It's also a volume and volatility indicator as well. I use it for a confirmation for a trend following signal. So essentially, when I get an indication from my primary entry indicator or my other primary signals to go long or short on an asset, I look for Wada Atar to confirm that, because if I'm entering into a trend following position, I want there to be enough gas in the tank. I want there to be enough volume and volatility to make me feel confident that there's enough gas in the tank to continue to carry price on, and that I'm not buying at a local top, right? I want to be buying at a fairly critical point in the market. So as we can see right here, let's get a good example here. What are the qualifications for Wada Atar to signal a buy? Well, when the Wada Atar bars are green, that's signaling bullish momentum. Okay, that's signaling bullish price. When the bars are red, that's signaling bearish momentum. Now, when the bars are bright red, that's signaling that you have bearish momentum, and the momentum on today's candle is greater than the momentum of yesterday's candle. So that's what you want to see. You want to see momentum continue to grow. You want to see strength in the direction of the trend that you're trading in. When the bars shift to the lighter color, whether that is yellow in the case of the Wada Atar for red, or dark green as opposed to lime green in the case of bullish momentum, that is very similar to the MACD switching colors as well. Even though it's still bullish, it's shifting from full to hollow, letting you know that momentum is waning or starting to pull back, even though the direction is the same. So it can serve as an early warning sign to potentially look to take profit on your trade and move your stop loss to break even though you don't have to be completely out of the trade because you can get continuation. But potentially this is an area where you might want to reduce your risk because volatility and volume is dropping off. Now, the way it measures volume and volatility is the height of the column, is the height of the bar. And you have this level called the explosion line, and let's actually talk about SMLALs. So you have this level, which is the explosion line, which is basically an upper Bollinger Band of the Wada Atar. So when the bars are above the Bollinger Band, that is a signal that you have a threshold, and above this threshold, there's enough volume and volatility for price to continue moving in that direction statistically. So a buy signal is generated when you have there are certain prerequisites. You have to have, in this case, remember, this is SMLALs, so it's gray instead of green. So when the bars are gray, that's bullish. You need the bars to trade above the explosion line, which is this line right here. And when they do, you can enter into a trade if the explosion line is yellow. So you want the explosion line to be moving up. You want it to be angled up, right? That's another indication that overall volatility is increasing. So you want all those things to congeal and kind of come together. Similarly, when you see, and then the way you would exit a trade is the way that the author of this indicator writes it is that you exit the trade when you get a bar that is underneath the explosion level. However, what I like to do is when I get a candle like this, when I get a bar like this where it grays out or it shows a weakness in momentum, that's when I will look to take some profit and move my stop loss to break even. And then I will fully exit the trade. If I'm just using this indicator or this strategy to trade, then I would be out of the trade pursuant to that original setup where you get a bar that trades underneath the explosion level. However, and then similarly for a short entry, we are looking for price to trade above the explosion level, for the explosion level to be red or tilted down in this case, and for the bar to be above the explosion level. So let's look at some examples here on the 60-minute chart, and we can see here we get our first entry. So here is what's interesting. On this candle right here at 9 o'clock, okay, nope, that one doesn't confirm because you can see it's below the explosion level. On this candle at 10 o'clock, however, we do get our first green bar above the explosion level, but the explosion level is not red. Now we can look back and see, this is 10, so we can actually see that wasn't a terrible entry. You know, this was a pretty good entry, but we don't actually get confirmation to enter until this bar right here, right? This bar, this bar right here at 1 o'clock. So we would enter here on the close of this candle. We have a little bit of drawdown, not very much, and then price does move favorably in our direction. And let's move this out right there. Thank you so much. And then price does move favorably in our direction. Now, what would be our exit on that trade? Let's see if we entered here. Potentially there, or at least that's when we would want to be out. And then we get another entry signal here. Okay, so that was a loss or break even. And then we get another entry signal here. and price trends up, and then tells you to be out right here. So that was a better trade. That was a pretty good trade right there on the hourly chart. So again, this is pretty good. This is a pretty good indicator out there. I'd say that for indicators, it's definitely in the top tier of indicators out there as far as its usefulness and its robustness and its ability to generate good signals. I'd recommend, again, I use this as a confirmation indicator for volume and volatility, as well as a secondary entry confirmation for a trend following strategy. It's not my primary indicator because I have something that's more sensitive for my primary entry indicator. But I think this is really good. So I think that you guys should definitely go play with this indicator. I think you can find some good results. Blockchain Cheeseburger says they arrested those Bitfinex guys. Read the news. When you say Bitfinex guys, what do you mean? I know that they had issued an indictment for Reggie Fowler and some Israeli woman. But as far as... We'll go check the headlines. Yeah, so they arrested Reggie Fowler, but he's not part of Bitfinex. This is that Reggie Fowler individual. Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. So as far as I'm aware, nobody from Bitfinex has been arrested. All right, now at 1 hour into the show, let's talk about the price of Bitcoin. Let's actually go ahead, guys. Listen, we've got a lot to talk about as far as the charts go. We're going to look at the long-term projections. We're going to look at the critical levels that we would want to initiate limit sell orders for and basically what I'm planning for. Now, again, as always, my plan is subject to change based on what market conditions are, but we're going to look at what the critical levels are right now. We're also going to look at short-term price and what the intraday trades might be. Again, I'm not focused on an intraday trade at this point in time. There are a few alt positions that I'm playing right now. And I do have, it's not a primary trade, so I didn't call it. I didn't recommend it or anything like that. It's just a test, but I just want to be transparent about my positions. I do have a small long position open on Bitcoin that I opened at, let's see here, 58.65 this morning. So, and again, that's just strategy testing. So nothing super indicative and not a big whoop whoop. So made more trading Bcash than any other coin. It's the real deal. It's volatile. Yeah. So Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, and EOS shorts last month put the majority of the money on my books for the last 3 months. And I think that the story is very similar with most of the guys in the trading group. I mean, those were, you guys can go to currentresults.krakencryptocurrency.com and you can actually, you'd have to go to results.krakencryptocurrency.com and you guys can see the results from April. And you can see just the P&L on those Bcash shorts. So yeah, guys, overall, I'm going to take a quick break. And when we return, we're going to get into the technical analysis. But what I will say, guys, is be very cautious looking for a long here. I mean, you're longing into resistance. Now, I actually do expect price to push up higher. But the opportunity cost for looking for a long here on the higher time frames and looking for a short at this or higher levels, it's a no-brainer to me. So I think that's the next big setup, the next big trade, the next big swing trade is going to be the downside. And it's just finding that right price. Again, just as I talked about yesterday, throwing the jab. And we'll look for more reliable setups with other coins. Like, again, Ethereum looks much more solid to me for a good setup, right? Ethereum is just much cleaner of a chart. Ethereum is very simple for what we want to do, long above this level, actually looking for consolidation back in this level. We did take the long from 172, took profit at 178.40. Had the rest of our position stopped out in profit at 174 this morning, and now just letting this shake out. So again, very overall caution and overall flatness in the market. You guys don't always have to be in a position. Everybody that's running headlong into short Bitcoin or short Ethereum right now, they're kind of getting punched in the face. And everybody that's trying to be a late stage buyer is not getting really rewarded, or at least in the short term, I would say the late stage buyers are at this point in time. But they're the ones that are going to be hit that are going to get hit the hardest when the market turns. So I'm going to take a brief break, guys, refill my coffee. Make sure you guys post your chart requests, and we'll try to look at what you guys want to do. Listen, guys, let's try to get to 100 likes on this video. That would be absolutely fantastic. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button. Come on over to Twitch and give us a follow or a subscription if you'd like to support us a little bit more. And, oh, shoot, I missed your... Zero Cool says, I have Giancarlo on Skype right now. I want to rattle off some quick questions. Ask him if he wants to come on the show. Yeah, I would love to rattle off some quick questions. Give me, I should really focus on this. I think this is going to be a little bit more interesting. Sorry that I didn't miss that. Do you still have him on there? Let me go grab some coffee. I'll come back and we can pepper him, man. That was 12:53. Okay, so that was only 7 minutes ago. All right, give me 2 minutes, guys. I'm going to grab some coffee. I'll be right back. All right, we're back, guys. Thank you so much for your patience. You are right. There's got to be some kind of something I can do to gently set the mug down. There we go. I'll just gently set it down. But yeah, I should get some foam. I need to get some foam. I need to get, what I really need to order is a better boom stand for the microphone and the shock absorber. So, Scott, if you're listening, that's an expense. Okay, so apparently, one of our, my friend here, Jason, is on a Skype call with Giancarlo, who's the CFX of Bitfinex. So I'm going to shoot some questions his way and see if we can get some responses. I really should turn that. I wonder why the noise gate is not filtering out. That noise gate should really be filtering out my clickety-clackety. Up to 20. 15. How's that, guys? Is that okay? Not good enough. How's that? Okay. Let me know if I'm clipping, if you guys can hear me all right. So here are the questions that I'm asking, guys. The first question is, and again, I have no verification that I'm going to get any response. I'm hoping and kind of. I'm hoping that I do get a. So my first question was, does Giancarlo have any comments on the Reggie Fowler indictment? Is Bitfinex concerned about the money laundering allegations made by Capital and their kind of a teaser question? No, there's not lag. I put a noise gate on. So it seems like you're not hearing me. Second question, does Bitfinex have sufficient funds to process you withdrawals at the moment? Individuals at fiat from Bitfinex. It seems like I'm clipping. Let's turn that down just a little. Hopefully that clips. So let's put the noise gate back on. All right, how's that? Yeah, 3226. Let's put that up. All right. All right, guys, how's that? Hopefully that's a little better. Okay. Do you guys have any questions that you guys would like me to throw? I would be, I'm happy to. Again, I have no idea if I'm going to get any responses on this. I could get a big FU. And then again, we have to be respectful of what this individual as an employee at Bitfinex is capable of. Yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate that. Yeah, I just made some adjustments. And that's because I'm going to be typing here. I'll see what out. Processing at this time. I mean, that's the big question. Oh, I mean, the other big question is Bitfinex not complying with the AG's free other funds? What will these are questions that I know I'm not going to get. 6. Come on, guys. I'm sure you got some good questions. Let me know. Welcome, Crypto Caveman. Appreciate you watching, man. Next doofus. All right, so the noise gate's still really bad. Okay. There we go. I'll just put it on its low settings. There you go, guys. Fixed her up. That should be all fine now. Well, with the next doofus, cease and desist is issued. Okay, so the question was, so my question was, listen, I'm trying to come up with questions. I'm trying to come up with questions for Giancarlo, who's the CFX of Bitfinex. So if you guys have any questions that if you guys could sit down with Bitfinex and ask them questions, what would your questions be for Bitfinex? Bitfinex doofus cease issued. Just a general statement. Are they committed? You know, the questions I asked were: does he have any comments on the Reggie Fowler indictment? Are they concerned about the money laundering allegations made against Crypto Capital and their parent company? Does Bitfinex have sufficient funds to process USD withdrawals at the moment for individuals attempting to withdraw their fiat from Bitfinex? Is Bitfinex honoring and processing USD withdrawals at this point in time? Is Bitfinex committed to not complying with the AG's freeze on Tether treasury funds? What will Bitfinex do if a cease and desist is issued? I just took the noise gate off, Cruz. Well, I didn't take it off. I put it back to the original settings. Those are the big questions. Those are the big questions on my mind. Will they allow a third-party audit? Why would they allow a third-party audit of Tether? Are they a dealing desk operation? Yeah, sure. I know that BitMEX is. How far are they going to push Bitcoin? Do they, you know, again, I feel like some of these questions I've asked are not going to get answered. You know, again, I want to be respectful of this gentleman because he's just an employee. He's just doing what he can. So he's not going to be able to give us good answers on any of these. There's no way that Bitfinex would allow their public relations to really respond favorably to these questions. But again, I'd like to be respectful of his time and just get an opinion, even if it's just a public statement announcement. You know, in general, I think Jason's even going to be like, dude, you're being an asshole. And 8. I just had a good question on my mind, but it slipped. And just a general statement. Oh, just a general statement about why there is such a premium on the Bitfinex exchange for the price of Bitcoin as compared to other exchanges. If he can just answer the 8th question, that would be fine. I mean, that seems like the most neutral question. Just asking for his opinion on the divergence in price. Okay. Bitfinex sends a bad signal for regulators outside, and as we all know, there are many people waiting for such a thing to attack crypto and that maybe become the next crash. So they trade the book counterparty-wise. I would not, you know, I don't know if Bitfinex does. I know BitMEX does, absolutely, for sure. Neo Gaming says, I shorted at 5,900 into USDC 20 minutes ago. Wish me luck. Congratulations, man. Best of luck to you. Okay. So, line. Patrick, give me some. Let me finish the stream and I can go over that a little bit more. All right. All right. Sorry for that brief excursion, guys. So let's get into let's get over here into the charts. And let's look at basically what I'm looking at on the higher time frames as well. So let's pull open the Bitstamp chart, and I want to talk about some important levels. Okay, so let's start off on the weekly and work our way down. Okay, and we're going to take Ichimoku and CC-EMA off for just a little bit, and we're going to look at the horizontals. Okay. And actually, we'll get to these in just a second. So we'll edit these lines as we go down because the Bitstamp chart does need to be modified because I was modifying the Coinbase chart. So what do we have over here on the weekly? Okay, you can see on the weekly time frame, we're targeting the lower wick zone. This is actually going to be the daily bullish order block turned bearish breaker, right? And we know the bearish breakers generally offer up fantastic trades in the first pass through. So this bearish breaker stretches from 58.48 to 61.35, right? So we are in the shorting range territory. Now, what is another area of liquidity should we break this zone? And I would argue that the weekly breaker or the weekly bearish order block is right here. What is the top of the weekly? So if we were to measure out the weekly bullish order block turned bearish breaker, that would actually stretch from 61.35 to 64.51. Okay, so I think that's something definitely that we need to keep our eyes on and keep our mind on if we are able to wick above 61.35. So in that assessment, where should you be if you are unsure about targeting the 58.48 level to the 61.35 level for your short? Where should you have your stank bids at, right? Your bids that are just designed to catch wicks, that you don't have a strong faith, that you don't have any reliability that price will sustainably move up here. You're expecting a pop and then a drop, right? So this would be the level between 61.35 and 64.51. Ideally, if you wanted to go to the higher end spectrum of that, potentially you would be targeting, 6,300 to 64.51, right? So we have the difference between our weekly order block and our daily order block down here. Now, again, you guys know that I like to trade daily order blocks, but I just want to put this into perspective. I want to put this into perspective for how strong the price of Bitcoin looks right now, and I don't want to take any options or possibilities off the table. So let's set that down there. So on the weekly time frame, we have price trading into the bearish order block, the bearish breaker, and getting some initial rejection. Not the swift, harsh rejection that I like to see from breakers. I do like to see price come up and be swiftly rejected. That's ideally what I like to see. As we consolidate, the stronger that we push up, if we start consolidating within this block, then we're going to push higher. Then I'll feel very confident that we push higher. Now let's go down to the 3-day. And the main thing that I want to point out on the 3-day is the Ichimoku signal, right? Now, what do we have? We had a 3-day candle close yesterday, right? And now we have a 3-day open. And there's some candlestick formation and price action analysis. And there's some price action analysis that I want to go over here in just a little bit. Just a second. Oh, come on, waves. Let's do it, baby. So let's look at the 3-day chart, and to understand what I'm talking about, let's go back to the daily chart and look down here at February 22nd, 2019. On this candle, we get a TK bullish cross, all right, which is a buy signal to go long. But as I talked about in my Ichimoku video, the way that I like to trade TK crosses is by actually buying the pullback after the bullish signal, right? So we can see that we actually get the signal on the close of this daily candle. And you guys will remember this was a movement we were short on. This was an 11% correction that we took the short. And we can see that price comes down and finds support on the Tenkan Kijun cross, right? And then price appreciates pretty significantly after that. So we can see that this was a fantastic bullish signal, but not the best for the pinpoint precise entry, okay? So buying the BPC after a bullish test is always the better situation. So this was our daily TK cross, which led to this. So we're about to get a 3-day. Actually, we did just get. So on the previous candle, we had the confirmed 3-day TK cross. Now, this 3-day candle just closed last night. So what are we expecting? after the TK cross, do we expect that that generates the pinpoint precise entry point, or that that is a more general direction of strong trend? We are expecting for price to come down and retest the breakout zone, the Tenkan Kijun cross zone, which would be at current price almost a 20% correction. Down to the Tenkan, it would be a 16% correction. Down to the Kijun, about a 19% correction. Okay, and I'd be more. Again, that zone is very close, but I'd be very confident about that touch of the Tenkan. All right, so those are my overall targets for the downside. The other thing to point out is also candlestick pattern. So we can see here on the 4th of April, and I want to give a shout out to. Oh shoot, I want to say this was Wesley or Sean that pointed this out last night in the members group. I want to give credit where credit's due. I apologize. But you can see here on the 3-day chart, we get a doji candle. All right. So after a good movement upwards, we get a doji candle. We get one more bullish candle that has a 50% pullback for its upper wick, and then a correction. All right. Pump candle, doji, bullish candle with a 50% retracement on its wick to the upside, correction. Right. Pump candle, doji, bullish candle with a 50% correction, or with a 50% retracement so far on its wick. Now it's going to take 2 more evenings for this 3-day candle to close. So this candle should close bullish if this pattern repeats itself, and then correction. All right, which would also congrue very well with my inkling that we're going to get the pullback to the TK cross down here. So a pullback to that 48.85 level at the very least. But this would also foreshadow the fact that we have potentially another 2 days of steady bullish activity, of a little bit of up and down and up and down and up and down ranging. Now, if that does happen, I think that price will be good for the alts. This is why I'm actively looking for a few more alt position scalps, especially because the altcoins have been bled out. So when the altcoins bleed out after Bitcoin puts in a volatile movement, and then Bitcoin goes sideways, which is basically what it's doing right now, then the altcoins tend to perform well for a couple days. So it's during times like that where you have to have the courage and the patience and the foresight to actually buy the coins, to actually buy altcoins on big selling movements to the downside, right? Now, not always the best strategy. That's a raw reversal against the trend strategy. So you guys know that that forms a smaller portion of my portfolio, but still good strategies nonetheless to take advantage of. All right, so going back down to the daily here on Bitstamp, and I don't know, like, why does it keep doing this scale thing? But anyways, so yeah, basically those same critical levels that we're going to be watching for are that 58.48 level to the 61.35, looking for rejection below that. Now, if we do end up closing below 58.48, then I'd be looking for a short trade to the downside to at least support, right? To at least, let's take the Ichimoku off and throw CC-EMA back on. Down to at least our bullish breaker, right? So now we have a bullish breaker. Why? Because we have a bearish order block that is closed through cleanly with little resistance. That bullish breaker is actually coming in between 53.88 and 55.31. So that is your limit orders to buy, right? That is your limit orders to buy. That's the area where you want to be in on the pullback. That's also congruent with a retest of support on the daily baseline. On the daily baseline. Did everybody die in the chat, or is the information just that good? Anyways, I digress. If we look at what our indicators are telling us as well, time transformation is showing us showing some good strength. We were actually talking about this triple bearish divergence. It seems that we might disrespect that, especially if we can trade higher on this level, right? If we can trade higher than this peak on the bullish divergence, and something very interesting that another one of I wouldn't say students, but somebody that I'm beginning to work a little bit more closely with on his strategy pointed out an interesting divergence. Pointed out an interesting nuance of the Fisher transform in his backtesting of it, because this individual did take multiple indicators and backtest them on the Bitstamp chart back to 2017 and looking for confluence between the signals that these indicators gave, right? And what he said was, when the Fisher transform reaches the 1.9 level, right? Even though that is approaching the overbought territory, it tends to be that momentum will tend to push the Fisher much higher, right? So basically, if we get above 1.9, that we end up pushing much, much higher, right? Even though that's when we need to be on alert for a sell signal, but that price and the Fisher does put in a volatile movement to the upside. Dad23 says, what is the time frame? Am I thinking of a pullback? Hours, days? Well, it would be weeks on the 3-day time frame. So at least 3 to 4 At least 3 to 4 candles. But again, we have to look back at the daily. We had a 1-day pullback. Okay, so let's be congruent. So would we get a 3-day pullback for the 3-day candle? So that would be a 17% correction over the course of 3 days, right? That's a big short. That's a big short. That's a big move. Tony Regaldo and Jordan London says we're taking notes and studying. Cogito, ergo Zoom. Fidelity news. Yeah, we talked about this yesterday. Fidelity is going to be listing Bitcoin trading pairs for institutional investors in the next week or two. Richard Dunhill III says, my head is spinning. Keep it up, man. Just taking notes. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Check the TD sequential counts. It's a 9 on the daily, I do believe. It's a 9 on the daily, I do believe. So we were looking at this triple bearish divergence on the Fisher transform. However, I do want to point out, as we can see here, whenever we do reach the 1.9 level, we push much higher. Where is the Fisher transform sitting right now? 1.98. Okay, which would tend to push us higher. We've already disrespected the trend line. Again, that stuff's nonsense, drawing trend lines and fibs and all these kind of things on oscillators. If you see anybody doing that, just run away. But what's my point here? My point here is we are going to be coming up on the daily sell signal here pretty soon. So I'm actually expecting a stronger upthrust to the upside, which again, Bitcoin's price is appreciating, but I'm going to be watching very carefully for that longer term daily sell signal. For that daily sell signal, especially because we are literally within the resistance block. In the resistance block, I'm not looking for longs, right? Even though I do think that price pushes higher, but we've just reached the point where we've been riding up. It's just time to be cautious, right? Just time to be cautious. Yeah, guys, if you guys want to, again, if you guys appreciate the content, make sure to just give that like button a gentle nudge. We highly appreciate it. Jakester, hey, welcome to the channel. Good to see you. All right, so let's go over and look at some of our long terms. So let's look at total crypto market cap on the daily and see what's going on. We'll also look at the NASDAQ, the S&P. Dad23 says, I remember you saying you used to not be good with math. I believe that's what makes you such a good teacher with this. I've got much to learn, so I'm thankful for this channel. Thanks, man. Well, thank you so much, man. I highly appreciate you viewing. Pablo wants us to take a look at ZERP. Sure, man. ZERP on Bitfinex. And Link. We also have to go through Link. I did say I'd look at Link. All right, so let's take a look at the total crypto market cap as well, and you guys can see that we are consolidating within that resistance zone. So we need to be very cautious, right? But generally, I want to point this out. When we do consolidate within that resistance zone and don't get that strong rejection, which we have not yet seen, the utter rejection and the close below the resistance zone, then generally when price consolidates at resistance, you tend to push higher. Not all the time, but in general, it is a bullish sign. And we can't bypass the fact that Bitcoin looks quite strong. But again, we are at that weekly level of resistance on the total crypto market cap. And actually, let's be a little bit more nuanced with this, and let's actually mark out what the actual daily order block would be. So let's do this. So you can see there that for resistance, I've simply marked out, I believe it's on the weekly. Yeah, so this is the weekly block. So I've simply marked out the lowest weekly close, and the lowest weekly low. So if we go in here and we set the visibility to only weeks, and then we go down to the daily and draw the daily block, might give us a little bit more nuance. Because in general, it's my opinion that daily blocks are more tradable. So here we have the total crypto market cap, and let's go find the daily block. Take some of the stuff off. Okay. So what is going to be the best candle that represents our bullish order block? Not this one. Ideally, I like to see these, right? I like to use a fairly large candle because that gives me wiggle room. And I like to use the true candle body. And ideally, and when I look into the future, I want to see that zone getting bought up. And then when we close below that zone, price just rejects. So I would say that this boundary right here is going to serve as a very good bearish order block. So that gives us a little bit more nuance. That gives us a little bit more that narrows us down a little bit, which I think is important. Okay. So we can see that now that bearish order block on the daily time frame actually stretches from 18.2 to 19.1. So we're looking for a daily close below this level, and then ideally I'd like to lose the bullish breaker as well. If that happens, then again, I've been pointing this area out on the chart for quite a while, which is a likely pullback zone for the market cap. Let's go look at the altcoins right now. And again, the altcoins just continuing to look very weak. So still not looking for long-term swing positions on altcoins. However, I do think that there's going to be some opportunities for scalps coming up, depending on the chart. But yeah, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower low pattern. I mean, just classically bearish. Let's see here if we got some. Yeah, actually a little hidden bearish divergence because we have a lower high and a higher high on the oscillator. So that's it's a little weak, but that is hidden bearish divergence as well. So you want to be very cautious here on the daily time frame. Let's actually throw open our EMAs. No, that's volume on our CC EMAs. Okay. We are still above the daily baseline, right? So we don't want to be we don't want to be running to the gun to short altcoins. We do want to get that nice trend following close below the daily baseline, but just telling us to be on the alert. All right. All right. Let's take a look at what we will go ahead and take a look at the longs to shorts ratios. We can see that the market is super beefing up to the short side, but keep in mind this is all Bitfinex data, so we have to kind of look at this with a grain of salt. But let's go take a look at what the longs are doing. And we do see the longs rising up, getting rejection from the daily baseline. Let's look at the shorts. And the shorts are just really in full control of the market right now. So overall sentiment is definitely shifting to the bearish side. All right. But again, the shorts have been on the rise since the 15th of April. So they're not doing very well. And we also have to consider the potentiality that this is potentially manipulated data. 5, Richard. What's funny about that, Dad, is that Dad23 is that last night again I was talking to one of my students, and I used to be quite terrible with math, but because I've made professional trading my lifetime, okay, what is your capital? What are you willing to risk? What's 2% of that number? Boom. What's 2% of that? If you allocate 4% to a trade, how much is that? If you make 5% on that, how much is that, right? In dollar and cents terms. That stuff comes to me very, very quickly now. It did not used to. So these are things that I used to not be very skilled at, but just over time that I've gotten better at. Sorry, guys. I'm getting a lot of Windows alerts, so let me get off there. Okay. Sorry, something came up on my scanner, so let's take a gander. All right, so BNB rejecting from the secondary baseline on the daily candle, putting some high volatility. Let's go down to the 15-minute chart. I think there is probably a trade here, especially if we can see. We don't really see it. No, that's interesting. There was just a pretty significant trade on BNB. Really wanted to see a volume spike like that to the downside. That's what I was expecting to see. Not enough yet. So, just like the last BNB trade that we took was right here. Took it to the upside here because of this massive volume spike to the downside, and price had already been sold off for a while. So just, you know, just when you see a massive spike in selling after price has been moving down, it's generally good for a reversal scalp. Because what is the local bottom of a market? When all sellers have sold. So if you just had a ton of selling, price is probably going to go up for a little bit. But I don't see that over here. I think price is actually likely to continue going down, especially when we go to the daily time frames. Regardless of what scalp this might be good for on the lower time frames, this looks like a genuine breakdown now. I mean, you can just see this is a classic dragon batwing pattern. Yes, I made that up. Texas Blue says Verge hit a daily 9 over the 13. Bullish divergence. I took a brave position. Thoughts? Depends on what your time frame and what you're shooting for is. Oh, okay. So you're taking the reversal trade off the perfected 9 and 13. Let's see here. Well, so similar to what we were talking about with Verge earlier, we have we had a bullish breaker right here, or excuse me, a bullish order block. We could see it was closed below, and we just got rejected from it, man. So I don't necessarily see any indications to bottom buy this, to be quite honest with you, at least to take the trade to the upside. I don't look for, so again, that's my strategy. I don't look for swing positions off raw reversals. I look for scalps off raw reversals, right? So, you know, depending on what, you know, ATR percentage is on hourly or below time frames, depending on seeing a large increase in volume and volatility or a large amount of selling pressure after price has already been moving down for a while, bullish candlestick formation. So, you know, something like this with a long bull wick to the downside. This not necessarily what I want to be seeing. Let's go down to the 15 minutes, see if there's any potential here. Yeah, I just don't see that big selling pressure that makes this an attractive buy. Now, when I look for longer term positions, I like to look for trend shifting dynamics, right? So if I see consolidation and then a break above resistance, or if I see us closing, if I see see how the daily baseline is just steep angled down, I don't take long term swing trades when the daily baseline looks like this. I wait until the daily baseline evens out and price consolidates, and then I wait for a breakout BPC, and then I'll look for a long-term swing trade to the upside. Or if I get a classic, you know, trend following strategy on my system, on my indicator. But you can see here, even though time transformation is fantastic at calling raw reversals, every single one it's called is sucked, right? Because we don't take those trades. We don't take these trades. So, you know, again, let's go down to the hourly. Does seem like we did get a little bit of a selling spike here without a lot of shifting, without a lot of momentum to the downside. So that might be good. You know, increase in selling pressure, not that blow off selling pressure that I think I'd like to see at the end of a downtrend, but you don't always see that. You don't always see that. So, I mean, yeah, just manage your risk pretty tightly on this one. I'm not overly excited by this chart, my good friend. But I mean, it might put in a decent scalp. You know, the fact that we didn't have a big drop off with this increase in selling pressure is not too terrible. All right, let's take a look at Lincoln ZERP. We're getting toward the end of the show here, guys. We'll start off on the daily with Mr. Chainlink. Wow, it's been a while since we... Arbitrary green line seemed to act well as support. I'm going to go ahead and leave that there. We'll delete the pitchfork. This was the zone I said if we closed below that we would be out. It's been a while since I looked at Link long term. There was a while there back in like November and everything when everybody just wanted me to keep looking at Link. But you know what's interesting is January 2018 is when altcoins topped out. January 2019 when the almighty Link topped out, man. Overall, this thing's on its way down. Yeah, I think that, you know, in another 3 to 6 months, this is going to look like just about every altcoin chart out there down here. But that's not to say that it doesn't have its potentials. So the daily chart, you know, definitely doesn't look good right now. You just had a big volume spike to the upside, late stage buying, and rejection from the 55 EMA. Now, overall, this buying volume is good, but not right now. What you want, you need a couple days for this. You need to see a close above the daily baseline. Let's look at what other indicators are telling us. Yeah, so right here you had a close. Right here you had your buy signal, actually. So my strategy would have got you into this trade right here on this daily candle close, and you would have captured all this, right? So you can see that time transformation crosses above the 0 line, and Wada Atar confirms. All right, 2 out of 3, you take the trade, and you're good to go. Hey, so Esmalal, I just wanted to point something out. You do need to remove that line of code, which is going to be this line of code right here from your indicator, or it's not going to work on altcoin charts. So where you're plotting this horizontal line for the dead zone, you need to remove that line of code, or you need to you need to modify this value and write a function that plots the dead zone, because this is just an input, right? So it's just arbitrarily saying 20, so that's designed for 4x charts. What you need to do is write a function that, then this is what I need to just find time to do. My idea is basically like, okay, what is, you know, basically take a moving average. So, okay, so we have, what are the variables in this? We have, you know, T1 and E1, and then we have trend up and trend down. So trend up and trend down is actually what's important. So I would write, like right here, for example, because trend up is defined right here. I would write something like, you know, a dead zone, or, you know, or DZ or something like that, because dead zone's already defined here, or DZ equals EMA hyphen, we'd have to do the math, but maybe it's trend up plus trend down, or whatever. Or actually maybe a better one is the BB upper, because the dead zone is supposed to be the BB lower. So this is actually instead of plotting the dead zone, maybe you should plot the BB lower, and that would be your dead zone, right? So maybe instead of plot your H line dead zone, maybe do a plot function and call look at this function, like maybe plot BB lower. Or again, I think maybe now looking at this, that might not be the best, but just call an SMA of something like trend up or trend down, or call an SMA of E1, right? So EMA E1 comma 10 or something like that. Or you can actually put in an input, and then you can plot that function down there, and then it'll show up just fine. But having that arbitrary 20 down there is crunching everything down to 20. Sorry, guys, I did not. You know, I'm so terrible with Twitch, and I need to be, because I really love when you guys watch me on Twitch. Pitbully 2K, man. Thank you so much for trying to help me out, my brother, and I'm sorry that I didn't respond back to you. So yeah, what we want to see with Chainlink is we want to see Chainlink on the longer time frames hold that daily baseline, the 13 daily exponential. But overall, things are pretty good right now. We've got the unnatural volume indication right there, so we just want to be a little on the alert. Let's go down to the lower time frames and see if we see some potential right now. Yeah, so I would be looking for a BPC, or, you know, a pullback to these levels of support that sets it to have some limit order set. You could take a chance right now. I don't think I see momentum drying up that bad. This will be a green candle, maybe another green candle, and then I expect a little bit more downside. And that real quick. And Yeah. Yeah, overall you want to be cautious. On the 3-hour, you're getting the bearish indication right here. Not yet, but you're definitely out of your long position. You got the 3-hour sell signal right here. And you got a little hidden bullish divergence right here on this candle, would have got you into the trade. I wonder how many unsubscribes I just got for what? What'd I do? What'd I do? Oh. Oh, talking shit about Link? Yeah. I mean, listen, like, none of these coins, listen, that's the thing, man. Like, I'm a crypto guy, but I'm a Bitcoin guy, you know? All these altcoins, you know, I mean, just look at the charts. Just look at the goddamn charts, man. The chart tells you everything you need to know. This thing did some stuff and then went massively parabolic, and now it's on its way down. Big rejection, consolidation, continuation, consolidation, most likely continuation. Maybe this thing goes on another run, but you know, we can definitely be patient and wait. Because look, when price was above the 55 exponential moving average, which happened right here, right? It went on a massive tear. Closed underneath, consolidated for a little bit, closed back above, went on a massive tear. And now it's underneath the 55, coming back up to retest it as resistance. That's significant. Do I not like fibs? No, I think they suck. Fibs are the ultimate hindsight indicator, right? Now, I have particular uses for fibs, but insofar as 618 retracements, 786 retracements, 236 retracements, 50%, I like 50% retracements for specific strategies. But in general, it's very rare that you meet somebody who uses fibs and is profitable. There are people out there, and again, my hats off to you guys, because I'm not. It's not like I don't have the opinion that my way of trading is the best. I want to give big, huge shout outs to anybody and everybody who is able to make profit. And if you're able to profit with RSI, MACD, SMAs aren't too bad. Bollinger Bands, stochastic, Fibonacci, trend lines, then awesome. I mean, because you are crawling over a massive hurdle of using, in my opinion, the worst technical tools out there. But yeah, in general, the Fibonacci is one of those things where nobody will say anything about the Fibonacci. It'll be blasting through Fibonacci levels. And then as soon as it bounces off one Fibonacci level, everybody will be like, I told you. Come on, man. That's why I designed the if this then that strategy. So that I knew what to do. All right, let's get back to our long terms, and I want to look at the traditional markets. Whoa, look at that S&P 500 dropping like a rock. And the NASDAQ dropping, and the Dow dropping. It's the fucking end of the world, guys. The global economy is going bankrupt, and Bitfinex caused it. Look at that fucking bat wing pattern right there, guys. I don't know if you've seen waiting, but that is a strong bat wing pattern, right? No, I'm just kidding. No, this is significant, right? On the S&P 500, this is a day, and I talked about this yesterday, right? I talked about this yesterday, how significant this candle was, right? The fact that it got bought back up, sold right back into, right? Closing down below the daily baseline. That officially makes the traditional equity markets bearish. We'll see if we get the secondary bounce off the daily 55, but this kind of looks scary. All right, we can go back. We can go back and see that the last time that we significantly closed strongly on a candle like this below the S&P 500, or excuse me, this is the Dow. But the last time they closed below the 55, that was the indication that we were entering into a bear market, into a bearish trend. And I think that Bitcoin is, if this continues on in its bearish pattern, then Bitcoin will likely follow it. So I think I'm going to go ahead and take profit on that little long from earlier. It was up a little bit, creeping back toward my entry. So go ahead and close that out. Let's stay flat, and I'm going to look. I'm gonna be watching Bitcoin pretty closely today to position myself short if I get some confirmation that this is the rejection. Don't want to be too early to the party. Lower high. Lower hourly high. Awesome, Esmalaw. Looking out. What do I think about ZERP in the future? I mean, ZERP is like the clear indication of all the other shit charts. Bitcoin dominance. Pumping, baby. This chart is bullish as fuck. So yeah, long-term altcoin positions don't exist right now, man. They just don't exist. Until we lose that daily baseline, then we can look at them. And this is directly in conjunction with this, with Total 2, which is the crypto market cap excluding Bitcoin. Let's go take a look at what CME futures are doing. Yeah, putting in a very similar topping pattern as well. Double top, lower high. GBDC, not as distinct. You can just see the lack of liquidity there. Gapped up, pulling back to retest that gap. Going to be a pullback. Going to be a 2% drop in the GBDC. You can see we gap up, pull back to fill that gap. Gap up, pull back to fill that gap. 25x short on BTC USD. Should I? I can't answer that question for you because I don't know what your position size is, if you're hedged, what other holdings that you have. I don't know what your time frame is. I don't know what your. So I mean, in general, because when I get asked that question, so what you have to understand here is my approach to trading, right? I don't have all the answers. I am a profitable professional trader, but I don't know whether price is going to go up or down. If I knew that, I would be living on the beach. Not really. I quite like where I live. I live here by choice. I could live wherever I want, but I live here by choice. I couldn't live wherever I want, but I have options. But I like living near my family. I like living in a small town. I like living somewhere where my kids can run around outside and not worry about stuff that you have to worry about other places. Beyond ZERP in the long term, ZERP should have an important role in the crypto market. ZERP has so many fundamentals to moon. I don't see why. I mean, I don't see fundamentally why, right? Because banks are going to use it as a transfer coin. So in any way, shape, or form, why would it make sense for that price to be high, right? Why would it make any sense for retail investors to buy that? Doesn't benefit them. And if banks are going to be using it for transfer, why would it make any sense for them to want that to be as valuable as possible? It's a utility token. It's designed to be a utility token. It's designed to be used as liquidity, right? banks are not going to want to use something that is highly volatile to transfer liquidity, right? So I don't understand what the fundamental for ZIRP to Moon is. The fact, if every bank in the world adopted ZIRP, they would not want the price to be volatile. I mean, it's one of the worst investment ideas that I've ever heard of. Thank you, mate. You are a beast, man. Let's take a look at this, bro. Oh, okay, that's a download. Can I just open it up? Oh, no, it's a download. All right, sweet. All right, what do we got here? Okay, so is this time frame? All right, so this is the ask equivalent. This is the bid equivalent. So this is that graphical format of that skew chart I was showing you guys earlier. So it seems okay. So okay, right. So the black line is price, the green line is asks, and the red line is bids. I'm assuming, right? Yeah. So we can see. So we can see how close, or is this the highest and the lowest? CryptoKitty says, Justin, don't say it, and I don't want to hear it. No, I'm sorry, guys. Do I see a possible pullback as low as 4,500 still possible? Absolutely. Absolutely. More demand, higher price. Yeah, but demand from demand from where, right? You know, banks are not going to, and it doesn't matter if it's a 4-second transfer time. Banks, when you're talking about millions of dollars, if you've got a 0.02% slippage over a year, that adds up. Banks aren't going to do that. Banks can use USD and receive absolutely no slippage right now. S. Bruning, thank you so much for the subscription on YouTube. Thank you guys for the likes on YouTube, man. Okay, so this is what I was looking for. This is that skew data right now. Oh, interesting. Okay, so we went from 100 to 2,000. So let's disable everything but 100. Great. Okay, so we're basically looking at price and the bidding and the asking pressure. So what we're looking for are moments in time where the bidding pressure gets very close to price and the asking pressure gets very far away from price, right? As you can see happens right here. So you can see right here where the ask pressure moves very far away from price and the bidding pressure moves very close to price. And generally when you see market conditions like that, it shows very aggressive buying. And whereas the sellers had been very aggressive moving to the downside, right? Sellers had been very aggressive moving to the downside because, again, you have to understand these are market makers and bots, right? So we're looking for when they take a break. We're looking for when they take a pause for the market to shift on the lower time frames. So as you can see, bids and asks are pretty much, and again, this is to fill 100 Bitcoin order. Where is the liquidity to fill that order, right? So just to understand, right? to fill, there's 100 Bitcoin worth of liquidity right here on the buy side and 100 Bitcoin worth of liquidity on the ask side up here, right? So it's significantly harder to get your sell filled right now than your buy filled. There's more aggressive bidding than selling taking place at this point in time. And so if we zoom out, we can see that this was a market bottom. All right. So this is what we're looking for with this data. And I mean, my good friend, again, I don't want to throw you under the bus. Not under the bus, but I don't want to point you out because you might be inundated with tasks, but I'm just very impressed with the work that you're doing. This is absolutely fantastic. This is going to be the tools that we can build to really crush the market. I mean, I mentioned it this morning and boom, here it is, 2:00 in the afternoon. This is awesome. Most people, I'm like, hey, can you backtest your strategy? And they're like, I don't really want to. That's a lot of work. Okay. Well, I mean, if you don't want to make money, awesome work, man. But yeah, I mean, this is so critical. You can just see here when the bidding pressure gets very intense and the ask pressure moves away. So this is a significant deviation for market makers and bots active in the market. So, and we can see that, yes, that area generated a local bottom. Let's try and also find an area. Let's try and find an area where, yeah, so here we can see, okay, so here we can see asks getting pretty aggressive and we see price moving down. And what are the bids doing in response? They are moving away, whereas previously they had been very, very close with price. On this movement up, they had been very close with price. And then they significantly move farther and farther away from price as asks can continue their aggression, right? And what happens as a result? That was a local top, right? We see it right here. See along this local bottom, bids aggressively move toward price and asks deviate away significantly. That was a local bottom. So this is going to require, we're going to have to throw this through some algos and we're going to do some statistical analysis of this and see overall, like even though I can visually point out and see like this is awesome, even if this only just becomes useful as a indicator pop-up tool, this would be pretty awesome. So awesome work, bro. Looking forward to what we're going to do with this moving forward. And now is the time for VeChain. I actually bought some VeChain. I published that publicly on TradingView. So if you guys want to go check that out, I also put it in the Discord as a public signal. All right, guys. So we did hit 100 likes on the video? You guys are absolutely fantastic, man. Let me double check. If we hit 100 likes, then we're going to show Sally. Oh my good Lord, we hit 103 likes. You guys are awesome. Well, you know what we're going to do then? By request, we're going to show the introduction to Sally, guys. We're going to show this live on the stream. This is, you know, sometimes we do stuff for the, what's the word I'm looking for? Sometimes we do stuff for new subscribers and sometimes we do stuff for followers of the channel. So this is going to be something for the followers of the channel, guys. So give me 1 second. Let me actually go to studio mode. Go to the edit side. Right. Go to the edit side and blank. Okay, good. So we're going to select. Whoa, shoot, what just happened? Did you guys lose my screen for some reason? That's weird. Don't worry. Stay in there for a second. Oh, I see why. Yeah, because I clicked something. Don't worry. Okay, there we go. Got it. Got it. Okay. And we'll turn on desktop audio and turn that all the way up. Okay, so hopefully you guys will be able to see that. Okay, so here we go, guys. We're going to watch The Death of Sally live. We'll actually transition and exit studio mode. And here we go, guys. Oh, yes. All right. Oh, baby, yeah. Yeah, all right. That was a heavy box, all right?
Bitch, I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems. I solve them. I run through the money. The pressure be calling. Left on my blessings. I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back. Tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something. That's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression is all that I wanted. The phone and affection.
It's time to say goodbye, Sally. I'm sorry, but you are no longer needed. Thank you for your service.
'Cause I don't wanna stay, wanna live my own life, wanna feel passion for something or someone that makes my world turn upside down, wanna give it up for something or someone that's better than this. So don't be too offended, I had to leave, there's nothing in for me, no, I'm not fitting in, I've packed my things to go. Am I being naive? But it's my choice to make. It's my new rebellious way.
There comes a time in every trader's life where, you know, your good old trusty trading chair has just seen one too many battles. Just one too many battles. And, you know, we just really got to let it go. And make way for the new sexy lady. What's going on, baby? It's different. It's different. I don't want to say it's better because I feel that'd just be too soon. You know, like, you know, it's like we just broke up. But, you know, she's smooth. Anyways, guys, just a little journey into my life. Trade safely, guys. I'll catch you on the next one. So there you have it, guys. The death of Sally. Even though, I'll tell you what, man, one thing that you definitely need as a trader is a good, comfortable chair. And, you know, I'm getting used to this one. You know, it's definitely going to take some getting used to. I like it. It's pretty good. It's pretty nice. It's pretty convenient. I prefer the old one though. Nostalgia. Yeah. I mean, I've had that chair for like a while. We've been through a lot. We've been through a lot, that chair. I mean, I traded Forex on that chair. I began trading cryptocurrency on that chair. So, I'm going to take Sally out and put her down the same way I want to be put down. Just, you know, quick double shot to the face. Do I have a cat? No. Well, yes, it's not my cat, but there's a cat in the house. Very happy. But, yeah, there is a cat, but that's not why. Your memory will always remain, Sally, on YouTube. That's not why I got rid of the, that's not why the chair looked like that. It's just that thin covering, man. Ooh, there goes Bitcoin. Gravity. Gravity. Yeah, I spend too much time on the desk. Yeah, it's possible, man. Leandro Jorge, thank you so much for the subscription on YouTube, by the way. Sorry, I missed that. Come on, baby. Let's go. May Sally rest in peace, Goober. Let's see if it gets bought up. XLM we can glance at real quick, and then I'm going to get going, guys. I got a lot I got to do today. Okay, 24-hour chart. Okay, so price has been selling off for a long time on lumens, and we're looking for that big reversal. But with Bitcoin making a volatile move, you kind of want to step out of alts. They're probably going to make a big dip. In fact, now I need to think of myself. All right. Oh, come on, Waves. Why didn't you do it for me, baby? Yeah, those will probably do okay. We'll be fine. Do I have any long-term holdings on altcoins? No. No, I do not. That is not my investment strategy. All withdrawals are suspended on Binance. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, this was 10 days ago. I haven't tried to withdraw anything from Binance. This is just Cardano. All of them. Take to Twitter. Come on, man. Okay, I guess it's not going to let me search. Pull this out. Yes, all of them. This last 5 minutes. See a coin to the moon? All right, so let's go to Binance. And go to news. Thank you. Binance suspended all withdrawals, 7,000 Bitcoins left in their hot wallet. Thank you, Scott, for confirming that. Ruh-roh. Yeah, what's CZ say? CZ, Binance, Twitter. Can't remember what it's actually. Okay, here we go. Have performed some unscheduled server maintenance that will not impact deposits and withdrawals for a couple hours. No need to fund funds or SAFU. All right, and CZ we trust. Gotcha. Cool with it. Just make sure you guys are being careful out there, man. We're coming up on a critical point in time where it's really easy to be taken advantage of. It's really easy to make a bad decision. It's really easy to get hoodwinked. And we saw how easy it is for Bitfinex. So just make sure you guys are trading safely out there. And again, we'll be here live every day trying to give you guys our best analysis, our best opinion, our best thoughts on the market so that none of us are getting wrecked. All right, guys. Oh, also, all right, let's talk about some, let's look at the bottom of the barrel here and see what we got before we end the show. Make sure you guys head over to krakencryptocurrency.com/blog. And you can see some of the newest blog articles by our content creator, Joe. He does some fantastic in-depth articles, guys, on issues that are pertinent to what's going on in the cryptocurrency markets. So make sure you guys go check that out. Leave your comment on the website if you like the comment, or if you like the article, if you guys like thoughts. Let us know what you guys would like us to focus more on moving forward, what articles you would like to see, what kind of news and analysis you would like to see in addition to what we do on the show. Obviously, we appreciate all the views, all the likes. Make sure that you guys haven't already, make sure to subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell as well as the thumbs up. And if you'd like to come over to Twitch and give us a follow or subscription over there and support the channel, we highly appreciate that as well. We're going to go to this scene right here. Again, make sure that you guys trade safely out there. I want to thank everybody for joining me with their time today. You guys are a fantastic audience. I hope you're doing absolutely wonderful wherever you happen to be coming from. I hope you have a wonderful day. Just make sure, again, as always, to trade safely. If you guys have any questions, comments, thoughts, sarcastic remarks, and or death threats, make sure to leave them in the comment section down below. Again,